Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the town of Colonie. Hello and welcome to The Money Factor. I'm Richard Naylor, your host. Our guest today is Dr. Tom Denham from Careers in Transition. We're going to be talking about 10 reasons why you still don't have a job, and this actually applies more broadly than that. It covers things that everybody needs to be looking out for to keep maybe moving up in your job or not losing customers. However, we're going to focus a little more on those who are out of work. So, welcome, Tom.
Good to be back. This is based on an article I wrote called The 10 Reasons Why You Still Don't Have a Job, and I've written over 200 articles. It's one of my favorite, and I think it's going to be very helpful to people watching this program today.
Great. In 2009, people were even worried about losing their job. Just a little context. That was when everybody's worried about the economy totally going down the tubes. And things have started improving, but that doesn't mean that people shouldn't still be looking out just as much for their habits and things that they don't know.
Right. You know, there's an old expression, you should be always looking for a job, and you should be looking for a job when you have a job. I always feel that people need to continue to update what I call their career toolbox, which is your resume, a sample cover letter, your references, building your LinkedIn connections, your bio, your social media profile, and setting goals for where you want to go.
Right, and it's a good time. It's always a good time.
Right. I mean, when you are at that striking point where you wake up and you realize you're not going where you want to go, or you're at a point maybe in the beginning of the year or halfway through the year where you say, you know, I don't really know where I'm headed, or I want to review what I've done this past year. It's never a bad time to take a look at your goals.
So let's focus now. Where would you want to start on the topic?
Well, you know, the reason I wrote this article and the reason why we're doing this show is I have a lot of clients. I've been practicing for 23 years now, and I have a lot of clients that come in and they tell me things like, you know, I've been unemployed for 6, 9 months, year and a half, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And so I listen to them, and I try to come up with solutions. And as I listen to them, I can identify the mistakes that they're making. You know, sometimes it's just that they haven't applied to enough jobs, they don't have enough motivation, their job search is sporadic. Most of the time, though, it's a networking problem. We're going to certainly talk about that. So I came up with 10 common mistakes that people typically make.
Where do you want to start?
Well, first of all, you know, most people have never been trained or taught how to do a job search. You graduate from high school or college, you go into the job market, a lot of times you just fall into a job. You're not really being deliberate or intentional about your career development. You get into it, you get a salary, you get benefits, it's challenging, maybe you get a promotion, maybe you get another promotion, and then all of a sudden in midlife you may wake up and go, is this really what I want to do? You know, how did I get to this point? So,
makes me think, are the schools listening here? Because I know they put a lot of work into their, some of them put a lot of work into their counseling centers where they'll try to connect you with employers. But I'm unaware of any school that actually teaches, and it would have to be high school as well as college, that actually teaches you how to do a job search.
Actually, the colleges do an excellent job of teaching you how to do a job search.
Really?
But you have to show up.
Oh.
Okay. So if Siena College, where I was the director, has a workshop on how to do an effective job search during
finals week.
No. But even in like September
okay.
for seniors, and everyone else is out enjoying the good weather, that's not the Career Center's fault.
Right.
Okay, that's our fault. So I think the colleges and universities do an excellent job teaching these things. It's the student's responsibility to show up. And again, for many students, long-term planning means tomorrow. So if it's October and they're having a workshop on how to do an effective job search, it takes 3, 6, 9 months, maybe a year to do a job search, and they're not showing up in October, and then it comes 2 days after graduation, we want a drive-through career center, or we want to just go to the internet and find a job, that becomes a problem. So really, career development is a discipline that most people are not trained in. Or the other thing is make a priority. And then even after people graduate from college or high school, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, most people are not taught how to do a job search, and a lot of people do it alone.
Okay.
Big mistake. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is a mistake is people aren't focused. So last night I was talking to somebody on the phone, and as I'm listening to her, I'm trying to pick up on cues, and she said, you know, I've been doing this job search and I don't even know what I'm looking for. Okay, that's a cue to me that she doesn't know what she wants. So, you know, if she was to go out and network, which is the #1 job search strategy, we're going to talk a lot about that, you know, would she be able to articulate an answer? If somebody said to you, what are your top 3 jobs that you're applying to, or what are your job targets? She would not be able to give a good answer, which is code for when you ask something like that, or if I were just to ask, what are you looking for? And she is not able to concisely and clearly articulate what she wants. The lesson is, or what I learned from that is, you don't know what you want. If I'm a networking contact, you know.
How does somebody develop this focus? Because it seems to me that most of us, we go through life and we're trying to survive, which means more reaction.
It's reactive versus
planning.
being proactive. That's exactly right. So the way that you develop your focus is you make an appointment with Dr. Tom.
Well, that's a good idea.
That's one way.
Okay.
Well, and again, every program we do, we talk about the 3 stages of the career development process, which are self-assessment, career exploration, and then action plan. And then there's one question that goes with each stage. So the first question is, who am I? Where am I going? And then how do I get there?
And that's really helpful for the focus.
Yeah, so I will ask her, is it safe for me to say you do not know where you're going professionally? And she said, oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, that means she's got to go back and do the self-assessment. And the way you do that is through career counseling, career testing, and a questionnaire.
Because there's such a huge variety. Do you want to work for somebody else? Would you like to someday own your own business? A huge difference.
Right. So what you do is you tap into what I call your VIPs. And the VIPs is an acronym that stands for your values, your interests, your personality traits, and skills. So if I gave her a homework assignment and said, I want you to give me a list of 5 values, 5 interests, 5 personality traits, and 5 skills, that would be a challenging assignment for her. But I have career tests, some are standardized, some are some assessments that I've done. You're supposed to capture all those.
Okay.
You do that through career testing, you do it through a very lengthy career development questionnaire, which is an essay, and then I do the career counseling. And so these themes emerge over and over again. So by the 3rd appointment, they have their focus and then they have an action plan. Most people don't know these 3 stages. They don't know self-assessment is the foundation. And even if they did, they wouldn't know how to do it. So most people go to the step 3, which is the action plan, which is your resume, your cover letter, your interview skills, networking, LinkedIn, that kind of thing.
But they don't know how to do those because they haven't.
Well, they haven't.
Focus.
They don't. Yeah. Or the thing is that they, you know, they come to me and they say, I want you to revise my resume, which I'm happy to do. Right. And as soon as I sit down, I say, what is this resume geared toward? And they say, I don't know. So it's very hard to reorganize a resume for a job target when you don't know where the target is.
Right.
So that's why this has to be done sequentially. So the focus is absolutely the most one of the most important things. And you should be able to say, my first choice is this, my second choice is this, my third choice is this. If you can't do that, then you need to go back and do the self-assessment. Because when you go out there and you network, your contacts and connections, they're not trained career counselors. They're waiters and waitresses. Okay? They're there to fetch you something. Okay? So if you're my waiter and I say, you say to me, what would you like to order? And I say, I don't know.
And I might say, then what do you like?
And then I say, well, I don't really know. I'm not
Well,
really
you came
sure.
to a pizza place, so
Oh, right,
let's
right.
start there.
Well, no, let's say it's a Cheesecake Factory, for
Okay.
example, where it's 25 pages worth of menu.
Right.
So now you're trying to work with me, and I say, well, I don't really know. And you say, would you like chicken? Well, I'm not really sure. And now you're like, would you like beef? No, I'm not really sure. Would you like fish? I'm not really sure. Now all of a sudden
Now
you're
I'm
getting,
thinking I need to change sections in this restaurant.
right, exactly. You're at that point where you're getting frustrated. That's what a networking contact feels like when you're not focused. If I said to you, my first choice is chicken, my second choice is beef, and my third choice is fish, okay? So now you have more of an idea. So now maybe you can help me figure out what the chicken items are,
Right.
okay? That's what you need to do.
What are the one or two negative things that you would say this is likely to happen or to simply be the case if someone applies for a job that they're really not suited for in terms of maybe their personality? So, in other words, I'm trying to put together why does a lack of focus cause them to fail when they apply to a job. Now, they could get lucky and they apply for a social work job and they're really somehow innately geared to that. But it might not be. Let's say it's not. Why do they fail
Well,
to get the job?
Well, it could be a number of things. I tell people if you have 60 to 80% of the requirements for the job or the qualifications, then you should apply. If you have less than 60%, it's a waste of your time. Okay. So one of the things that I mentioned here is number 8. You've got a resume, cover letter, or an interview problem. So let's say you apply to the social work job, but you've got a 2-page resume when you need a 1-page resume. I'm not saying you always need a 1-page
Right.
resume, but a 1-page resume is typically preferred for something like that, depending upon experience. So they may have a resume problem. If you're not getting interviews, you got a resume problem. If you're not getting interviews, you probably have a cover letter problem too. Okay? If you're not getting a job offer, you got an interview problem.
Or you haven't matched at all your skills to the job.
Right. Maybe you didn't tailor your cover letter. Maybe you didn't tailor your resume and cover letter
Okay,
to
we're
that
assuming
job.
they have 60 to 80%.
Okay, let's say they have
Okay.
60 to 80%, but the cover letter has several typos.
I would just say, well, you're not careful.
Right.
Whatever it is, you're going to do a blood transfusion and you're not going to check.
So that might be some of the ways they're sabotaging. Or they get to the interview and they haven't practiced for the interview. And then the interviewer says, where do you see yourself professionally 3 to 5 years from now? And they're not prepared to answer a question like that.
Right, because they don't even know why they're applying for this job.
Right. That's why you got to go back and do the self-assessment. Interviewers today are pretty skilled. They can pick up on whether you want this job or it's a transition job and you're not going to be there for the long haul.
Right, and some of that's just obvious right away.
So, a lot of times, rarely is there a resume that comes across my desk and I go, you don't need to make any changes. There's 9 times out of 10, there has to be changes.
And you're talking about serious changes.
And half the time, there's serious changes to it. Most people are not good self-promoters or marketers. I have a lot of people that can promote and market other people, but have a hard time marketing themselves.
Right.
So, and that's what your job search is about. It's about marketing and packaging more than the other person.
So what's the next?
Next one after you're not focused is you're not networking enough. Okay, you can't be invisible. You've got to be highly visible. You just can't go it alone. You've got to be asking yourself, how many new people this week know that I'm job searching, and do they know precisely what I'm looking for? Okay, so again, you're trying to deputize these people to be job search agents. If you are not telling them repeatedly what you're looking for, they cannot go out and fetch you these things. Okay, again, I'm coming to your house for dinner and I say, I want something to eat, and you say, what do you like? And I say, I don't know. And then you go to the kitchen and you fetch me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because you're just trying to guess. And I go, Richard, this is the best you could do?
Right.
Now you're insulted, by the way.
Now I go get a T-bone steak, and you're like, oh, that's not.
No.
I'm a
Even before that, it's like I say to you, this is the best you can do. Now you're insulted. Now you shut down. Now you say to me, well, go get your own.
Right.
Okay. So, for example, if I tell you I don't know what kind of job I want, and you email me a job, and I say that's not what I want, and then maybe you email me one more time, and you say here's another job, and I say that's not what I want. You're done. You're done.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're not going to send me any more jobs. So I just killed the deal.
I probably wouldn't have sent the second one.
You probably would. Exactly. You probably would
There's enough people, especially now. We talked about 2009, where a lot of people were out of work, but there's still plenty of people out of work.
That's right. That's right. And these are some of the reasons why they're not doing it. So you've got to reach out. You have got to resist the temptation to go inward and not in a good way. You got to leave the house every day and go out there and meet people.
Now we did a show on networking, so we could we could plug that and say go to the library website, go to your website, go to the video page and look for the program on networking. But just to kind of sum it up, how does somebody who hasn't been trained in networking and they don't know, what do you mean talk to my brother-in-law, or do I call the CEO of General Motors and ask, do you have any positions for a metal banger?
Right, sure. Well, the thing is that networking, like career development, is a learned skill. Most people are not, have not perfected this neglected art. Okay, so there's three ways you can do it. One is you can read about networking, study it. I've written a number of articles. Two, you can have somebody teach you networking, like I would. And then the third step is you got to go out and try. Okay.
And that's the scariest part, I think.
That's the whole thing, is like when you're unemployed or you're between jobs, it can be embarrassing, humiliating, demoralizing. So it's not like a badge of honor that you want to go out and say, I'm unemployed. But what people do is they go inward. You're downsized, you're laid off, you're unemployed, maybe your spouse, they go to work. What do? You stay home and you look for jobs on the computer.
Or you go to the library and you sit at the computer.
Or you sit in the computer.
Which we want to tell people that's not enough.
That's not enough. So the interesting thing is that there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of jobs on the internet, and there's millions of people competing against you for them. So you're completely outnumbered. I don't have a lot of people coming in and saying, I've found all these wonderful jobs on the internet, and everyone I applied to, I got an interview with. So you've got to buy as many people cups of coffee as you can. We can do a whole show on networking. We can do a whole show on LinkedIn. But I do prefer a blend of real networking and social networking. But networking has to be the top priority. I wrote an article called Focus First, Network Second. If you can do those two things, you'll be successful.
So we've kind of covered three things. We went to 9.
That's okay.
Resume,
eight. Yeah, that's fine. Next is a good segue. Is you're spending too much time applying for jobs online. I will ask a client, what kind of job search techniques are you using? And they'll say, well, I've been spending most of my time online. And I'll say, how's that going? And there's like, not too well. How many of jobs have you applied to online? And they'll say, well, about 100. How many interviews have you gotten? 2. And I'm thinking like, well, if you continue to do that, those are the results you're going to get. If you had a horse and you entered it into 100 races at Saratoga and it came in twice, you would retire that horse. You would sell it. You would get rid of it.
Right.
Okay. A horse that 98% of the time doesn't come in. If you had a child and every time they took an exam they got a 2%.
Yeah,
you'd have a couple words with them. So I tell people only spend 5% of your time looking for jobs online. Now, if you're going to look at my videos, or you're going to look at articles, or you're going to read, or you're going to use LinkedIn, that's a different story.
Right, and it's not the same as taking an online class or something.
Right.
That's totally different. We're talking about
we're looking at applying
cold calling jobs.
Yeah, these are jobs that are listed online that you're going to apply to online, and usually they're advertised at jobs@abccorporation.com or jobs@blackhole.com and never to be seen again. So the problem is you don't have anyone on the inside helping you or working with you to grease the wheels. And that's why there's a front door with the internet job searching, and then there's the back door with the networking. The networking is infinitely more time consuming. You can apply to a job in your pajamas on a Sunday morning. You can't really network unless you go to church. Now, the interesting thing is I went to church last Sunday, and somebody came up to me and she said, "You're a career counselor, right? I think I have a client for you." So I didn't go to church to hit up my fellow congregants, for clients, but it's an example.
You network a lot, and people
network
know.
a lot, and people
you don't
know
even need your elevator speech.
No.
You just say, "Here I am."
That's right. I have a brand.
Right.
You need a resume, call Dr. Tom. You want to make a job change, call Dr. Tom. You need a cover letter, call Dr. Tom. You need your plumbing fixed, don't call Dr. Tom. You need your teeth cleaned, don't call Dr. Tom. And most people, that's what goes back to the focus, is most people are not clear about what their brand is. Okay, so too much time spent online. Next one is you're not managing your online reputation. The internet is the very first place people go to find out about you.
It's easy for us also.
It's easy.
If for the employer.
Right, exactly. So, I apply for a job here at the library, what are you going to do? You're going to Google me. And if any employer ever tells you that they're not Googling or doing online research, they're completely lying. They want to know more information. So when a candidate applies for a job and they Google them, what comes up? Everyone should Google themselves once a month to see what comes up. Does your LinkedIn profile come up? If you Google Dr. Tom Denham, the LinkedIn comes in first, and I think my website comes in second. You can manage that online reputation. And again, I would encourage people to have a balance between the real networking and the social networking, and LinkedIn, which is your online Rolodex, has to be a top priority. If you're applying for a job, then they look at your LinkedIn profile and you've got 15 connections, you're an internet loser.
We said this once before, and it was your statement, so I'm just going to quote you a little bit loosely, that whatever you put online, try to make it positive.
Positive.
And I think a lot of people want to be funny, but one person's humor is another person's disgust.
Right. I mean, there are certain people that are putting off-color jokes on their Facebook page, or they're having a bad day and they need to express that to the whole world. The internet is not therapy. The other thing I would stress is that everything that you put online is public and it's permanent. Public and permanent.
Great example of that. The library used to have a website on a different server.
Mm-hmm.
We deleted the page of the main page. We've deleted everything we could delete. People are still getting hits, and it comes up.
Yep.
And we'd have no idea where this is.
Mm-hmm.
We have a redirect on the address of the main page,
mm-hmm.
so at least they come back, it comes to the new one. But somebody will find a link to something that we don't want them to go to. It's way out of date.
Yeah. I agree.
And it's still there.
Yeah. I think people have to be more conscious and deliberate about what they're posting online. I have a filter. I always think, is this positive? The image that I want to create is somebody who's inspiring, motivating, and positive. That's how I want to go down in history. So I'm very careful about what I post on there. So your online reputation is your reputation. Most people are not clear about that. The other thing is there are many people out there who don't really care about their online reputation.
I was thinking about asking you about that.
The problem is it's not about you. It's about everyone else. If you don't care about your online reputation, that's fine. The other person over here that's applying for that same job does care about their online reputation, and they're going to beat you, and you don't even know it. Okay? And everyone has an online reputation out there already. The question is, are you going to build it, protect it, and promote it? The choice is always yours.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking you were going to go a slightly different direction, but I like that one better.
Yeah.
I was thinking you were going to say, well, most people are not alone in the world, so you may not care what somebody thinks. You're going to say what you're thinking, and you're going to be yourself and be completely honest.
Right.
If you feel horrible, you're going to be yourself. But what about your family, your kids, your friends?
They don't understand the implications of that. The other thing is, I like to be myself, but I don't usually go to the office in a pair of shorts and sandals to take
Right.
clients. I mean, that is myself. You know, myself is, as a mountain climber, is I wear a backpack. I don't usually wear a backpack when I'm dealing with clients. So there's times when it's appropriate and not appropriate. I mean,
And those are relatively benign, and
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that would complain he goes mountain climbing.
Right. But you know, the thing is that you would never get up in front of 100 people and tell with a megaphone and tell an off-color joke. So don't do it online. So again, protect your online reputation. The next one is you're not putting enough time into your search. I'll ask people, how much time are you putting into your search? If they've been unemployed, I'll say, how much time are you putting into it? And they'll say, about 10 hours a week. And my response is, that's not a job search, it's a hobby. Okay? If you were working full time, you had a job, would you go to work 10 hours a week? Of course not. Okay? So if you're unemployed, your full-time job is to get a full-time job. So if you are working, you should put about as much time into your job search as if you were taking a course. Okay? So if Richard was doing a job search and he's working full-time, but he's taking a class at the University of Albany, the amount of time that you put into that plus the studying should be about the amount of time that you're going to do into your job search, with a heavy emphasis on networking. Make sure you get focused. You've got to make your job search a top priority. The more time you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. Every day you have to wake up and say, how many hours am I going to put in my job search? What are the goals for today? You've got to do it. You've got to be very structured about it. You've got to run your job search like you're running a company. If you were going to work, you would be serious about work. Make sure you're serious about job search. Your job search. Make sure that you're not going to the gym at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. If you had a real job, you would never do that.
You could get up at 5 or 6, but not 10.
Exactly. I mean, I don't have any clients this afternoon. I've had a lot of clients this week. I could just easily cut out after the show is over and go home. I go to the office. I'm trying to run a business. I'm going to build some connections. I'm going to have some people, send out some invitations to have people come over. I'm going to work, and then I'm going to quit. And I'm not going to go anywhere near my office on the weekends. And you've got to be very structured and disciplined about your job search. You should not be doing house projects at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday. That's not a revenue-producing activity. And
I think we may have covered this one time before in another show, but I would think that some kind of a journal or log, if you work, you punch a clock. Not everybody. I mean, you could work 100 hours a week in a restaurant, and you don't need to punch a clock. You're there all day. So, but in terms of a job search, where you're really trying to discipline yourself, kind of like losing weight.
Sure.
You can't just say, well, I'm going to try to eat less, and then see a candy bar and eat it.
Yeah.
So if you have to write down everything that you do in your job search, would that be helpful?
Absolutely helpful. One of the things that I offer my clients is we do a thing called Motivational Monday and Follow-Up Friday. So if I've got an unemployed client, he'll call me on Monday and he'll say, Dr. Tom, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing this week. I'm feeling kind of lost. And we will have a discussion for 10 minutes about the goals for the week. And then I'm in his head for the whole week, because he knows on Friday he's going to call and he's going to follow up. He's going to tell me what went right, what went wrong, what needs to change, what he needs to do differently, and we're going to brainstorm. And if I do this each week, I'm his accountability buddy. Most of the time when people are doing their job searches and they're having problems, they're doing it alone. It's a very lonely process. You would not go to the Olympics by yourself. Don't do your job search by yourself. Get an accountability buddy.
Next,
not taking care of yourself.
You mean health-wise, or?
Everything. Not getting enough exercise. You don't have a disciplined exercise routine. You're not getting enough sleep. Or you're staying up too late, and then you're waking up tired.
And that could be an irregular day.
You get up. I always encourage people to have a standard bedtime, approximately a standard bedtime, and a standard wake-up time. That's what your body
And that's what
wants.
you do normally when you work, because
That's
you know you've got to
normally.
get up.
Unfortunately, with the advent of the internet and technology, what I'm learning from a lot of my clients is they're staying up until 11, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
Of course, I do that too, but still get up at 6.
Right. Well, and the problem is if you do not have a standard bedtime, you're going to bed, one night you're going to bed at 10:30, the next night you're going to bed at 12:30, the next night you're going to bed at 11:30, and your body's like, well, you know, how do I function with this? The problem is when you wake up in the morning, you know you need to get some exercise that day, but if you haven't built it into your day, you're not going to get it. And a job search requires a lot of energy, and you're going to get that energy from exercise, good sleep, your diet's gone bad, you've dropped your hobbies, you're not spending enough time with your family, you're not reaching out. This is a perfect storm. A lot of people say, well, I don't have any money to do my hobbies. Go for a walk in nature, it costs nothing. You go for a walk in nature. There are plenty of places in the capital region. Go for a nature walk. You can go to the Pine Bush Preserve. You can go to Five Rivers in Del Mar. You can go to the
New York
Helderbergs.
State Museum.
Well, I would just say nature,
Okay.
because when you're in nature, it tends to clear your head.
Okay.
New York State Museum is great. You want to take the family or you want to do something stimulating, but you may want to do that on a Saturday, and
Right.
then on Sunday you go
Right.
for your nature walk, because
Gotcha.
when you're out in nature, the only thing you can do is just look around and it'll clear your mind.
Right.
And when you're doing your job search, you're thinking about this resume, this connection, I got to work on this cover letter, got this interview coming up, got to network with this person. You've got so many things going on that you've really got to take care of yourself.
Let's get you back to documentation again.
Right. I mean, I run my own business. I write down how many hours I work. I just make an approximation. And you know, that's helped me, you know, keep myself accountable. The next one is you're probably feeling depressed. If you've applied for 100 jobs, that's a lot of rejection. You know, initially when somebody starts out with their job search, they've been unemployed, they have sort of an optimism that this is a good thing, and maybe they take a week or two off just to kind of get settled, wrap their head around
And also
this
all
thing.
that emotion from this being stunned.
Right, right. And then what happens is they start to send things out. Maybe they get a couple rejections, and then that's okay, and then they brush themselves off. But if you do that for 3, 6, 9 months, and it's constant rejection, you're going to get angry. And usually if you get angry, you're going to take that out on maybe your family, but most of the time you're going to take it out on yourself. And for many people, that's what depression is. It's anger turned inward. You're angry at the job search. Maybe you're angry at your former company for laying you off. So it's hard to stay motivated each and every day. It's kind of like, you know, you're going to go to the plate, and you're going to bat, and 98 times out of 100 you strike out. It's hard to go to the plate every day
And a
want to keep
1-month
swinging.
slump is a long time, but a 6 or a 9-month slump, to continue the baseball analogy, has got to be tough.
Imagine a client that I have that has 18 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely demoralizing.
What do you tell a person like that? It sounds really difficult.
I tell them you got a resume problem, a cover letter problem, an interview problem. You're not networking enough. I mean,
And every day's a new day, right?
Right. Well, every day's, yeah. And then you see, with clients, you just peel back the layers, and it's all these things that are happening. They're not focused. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not networking enough. They're not using LinkedIn enough. And so when you hire me, these are the things that you get. And for me, it's really simplistic, because that's what I'm trained to do. But for a lot of people, they have no idea.
And German culture is sometimes helpful because they're known for working. And one of their favorite expressions is "hope dies last." Mm-hmm. So you don't give up.
You don't give up. The next thing is you're not executing micro goals. I always look at unemployment as a mountain. I call it Mount Unemployment. And if you look at a mountain, when you first look at it, you may say, that is so huge that I'm not going to take any action. I'm completely overwhelmed by it. I mean, it's like your garage, your attic, or your cellar. There's so much junk in it, you don't even know where to start.
Right.
Okay. So one of the things I do with my clients is I make sure that they execute micro goals. A micro goal is a goal that's so small that it's impossible to fail. Okay. So if you're, again, and I try to put myself in the shoes of the people that are unemployed or making job changes. If it's a Monday, I would call Dr. Tom and I'd say, what are my goals for this week? I need a little help with that. And I would say, here are 3 things you can do before noon, okay? Then take an hour lunch break. Here's 3 things you can do in the afternoon. And then at 5 o'clock, quit, turn it off. Go play with your kids, read a book, watch TV, do something else. Okay? If you do those 3 action items in the morning and 3 action items in the afternoon, and you do that week after week, you're going to get results. But if one day you spend 8 hours on your job search and it's all intense, and then you take 2 days off, and then it's another 4 hours, it's erratic. It's very much like losing weight or going to the gym. I mean, in January, everyone goes to the gym and they want to lose all this weight, and they go gangbusters, and they work out, they work out, and they work out, and they work out, and they do that for like 14 days straight, and they just burn out.
And get injured, but
and get injured or hurt, and then discouraged, and then by Valentine's Day, they're eating chocolates out of the box. It's terrible.
Good analogy.
Again, you got to set a goal so small it's impossible to fail. Got to be a micro goal. And then the last is you're not thinking like a champion. You have a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset. And
that sounds like a hard one to turn somebody around when they're depressed.
That takes 90 days. It takes 90 days to go from a scarcity mentality to an abundance mentality, and you have to.
So what do you do the first day? We'll take a bite here.
Okay, so one of the things that I do every day when I wake up at 4:45 is I say a positive affirmation. So my positive affirmation is today's going to be a totally awesome day. Okay, and if you know my family and friends and people I know, that's one of the things I keep saying all the time. If they ask me, how's your day going? Oh, it's totally awesome. Totally awesome. It's kind of like the, Billy Fusillo, huge. It's the tagline. Right. So that's the very first thing I say to myself. If you ask people, what is the very first thing that you say to yourself in the morning, like your self-talk, they'll say, oh my God, is it Friday yet? I'm so tired. I shouldn't have gone to bed late last night. I hate my boss. I hate my coworkers. Yeah, I mean, you're telling yourself, if I was sitting next to your bed and I said, Richard, it's Monday and you'll never get to Friday, and you're fat and you're ugly and you hate your boss and you hate your wife and you hate your kids and you hate your job and the economy's terrible and you're not done with your Christmas shop, be like, get the heck out of here. Okay, so you have to pay attention to this inner dialogue that you have. And then I start my day off and I exercise. And during that exercise, I do this thing called visual motor rehearsal, which is I visualize how I want the day to turn out. It's what Olympians do. They visualize their race. So if you ever see Lindsey Vonn or Michael Phelps, they're visualizing how they want.
By the way.
Yeah, right. They're visualizing how they want that event to go. I mean, one of the reasons why Michael Phelps would come out onto into the pool with the headphones on is he didn't want to hear any of those distractions out there. He almost looked angry out there. He's not angry. He's hyper-focused. That's what he's running that race in his head. Plenty of time to celebrate afterwards. So when you're doing your job search, you always have to look forward. The things that are in the rearview mirror are not worthy of your time. So I had a client this past week who just kept saying, well, I wish I had done this, and I wish I had done that, and there was some blaming going on. I mean, they did this to me, and they did this to me. And I was like, that's back there. Okay, what's forward? When you leave this place today, what are the 3 action items that you're going to do immediately? And so I'll put it back on them. So attitude determines altitude, as we say in climbing. So attitude, extremely important.
We've covered a lot of ground. I think 10 things. It's a great show.
10 reasons why you still don't have a job. Google it. It's out there. And share it with people. Because once people know what these 10 things are, they can start to make changes and shorten their job search, which is the goal of my practice and, again, the goal of the show. So, again, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show, that you tune in again next week, and that you have a great week. Take care. Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the town of Colonie.